everyone, welcome to the stream. I have my amazing guest, Djenk, here today, who has so many interesting things to share with you all. Djenk, how are you doing today?
Hi, everybody. I'm doing well, thank you. Finally, nice to meet you and to be able to talk to you about something that we both share. I think as an experience, I think both of us have had traumatic past with our family that we are no longer in touch with. So I'm very excited to be able to talk to somebody who can relate finally to, you know, my past.
Absolutely. I'm excited too. And I'm sure that there are so many people watching today and who are going to watch this later on that definitely relate to our experiences as well. So,
Yes.
look, let's dive straight into it. Oh, I have to say hello to a special someone in the chat. Hey, Zagras, how you going? Your travel pictures on Instagram are so incredible. Someone says they love your t-shirt. Yes, I love his t-shirt too. It is quite amazing. So,
Thank
Zhenk,
you. Yeah.
we're going to start with, I guess, the very beginning of your journey, back when you were still in your home country. When did you first start to have questions about religion, and what kind of started the process out of Islam for you?
My mother was Albanian, my father was Turkish. When I was born, we lived in a predominantly Orthodox community because I'm from North Macedonia, and North Macedonia from 1991 up until 2001, before the big war happened, was predominantly Orthodox. So then, because that apartment was of my uncle, so the brother of my mother, he wanted to sell his apartment and we had to move out. And I think when I was like, what, I don't know, 11, somewhere around, or 9 maybe, we had to move to my grandmother's house from my mother's side. So she was Albanian, and they are fully Albanians. My grandmother has done the Hajj 4 times with my grandfather. They're
Wow.
fully Muslim. They live in a Muslim area. That area is called Gazibaba. Maybe some of your followers will know Skopje and Macedonia, so that they know that I'm talking about places that exist. Chai Chanka, Chai. So we moved there, and then I went from an Orthodox environment, which I really loved. I adored it because even though I'm against all the religions, they were still not violent. They were. I will get there because when I started to listen to metal, it's also when I got a lot of pushback from the Muslim community. So
Uh-huh.
we moved there with my grandmother. I learned Albanian to be able to communicate with them. And then I started going to Jami. I started fasting. I started praying 5 times a day. My mother sent me, so in Skopje, you basically can go every Sunday to read the Quran. We did not learn the meaning of the words, but we basically started learning the alphabet, and then you start reading something that was called the Alif, I think, and then you jump onto the Quran. So basically, I started doing all of those things, and as a child, the positive thing for children in Islam is this belonging to like all the family and all the festivities and and praying with your friends and going to Jami, and then during Ramadan we would go also in the evenings and stuff and stuff and stuff. But then the moment I got into high school, which in Macedonia is around 14, 15, I started listening to metal, alternative music.
Mhm.
And I started dressing up differently. I grew my hair. I put on a lot of piercings because I love piercings. I started wearing chains, and this is when the first time I had a lot of people from the Muslim community coming to me and saying like, "Oh, by the way, why do you wear that piercing? That's haram. Do you know that Allah will not love you? Oh, by the way, you will go to Jahannam. Why do you listen to Shaitan's music? Oh, by the way, why do you start smoking? Oh, by the way, why do you start drinking? Oh, but and I was like, people, can you like look at yourself for a while as well? Like, why does it bother you what I do with myself? Why
Mhm.
are you even concerned? And then people would not only approach you to talk to you about it, but that's also when a lot of physical bullying started, when a lot of, you know, attacks happened because of just simply being somebody who would not fit in.
Yeah.
And those were the first moments when I was kind of like, if we are all teaching us that we cannot judge anybody, but Allah judges all of us, then why do I see around me people judging me based on who I am all the time?
Mm.
Like all the time. For example, I have a big sister that she's 5 years older than me, and we lived in a house with my grandparents, my mother, and my uncle. And when she would go out, because as I said, we were raised more, let's say, liberal, like with Orthodox people around us. So she would go out, she would drink alcohol, she would come back home, and my uncle would dare to beat her up. It's like,
Really?
why do you go out? Yes, why do you go out? You cannot go out. How dare you? You are ashamed for us. And it's like, first of all, who are you? You are just the
Yeah.
uncle. She has a mother in her house. She can talk to her mother. So seeing all of these things, by the way, this is still not yet connected to religion. This is more culture. I'm very aware of that. But I just want to make like put the background, also the cultural background. So yeah, then I think at the same time there were a lot of tensions that happened in our country because just to give some background, there was a war in 2001 in my country when a lot of Kosovari Albanians came from Kosovo to North Macedonia because Albanians from Albania are mostly Catholic. But after
Mhm.
the Ottoman Empire, these Kosovari Albanians, they were converted to Muslims. And then there was Albania
Is
Kosovo,
Djenk
which is
frozen?
Prizren, which is somewhere in Serbia. There's also, sorry,
Sorry, your internet's
did you
cutting
hear
out a
me?
little bit, but you're back now. Yeah, 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 we can hear you. You're back.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
No, 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 that's
So,
okay.
So, because if it cuts out again, I might have to maybe jump on my Wi-Fi because I'm on my 4G, but let's try. So, as I
Okay.
was explaining, in 2001, there was a huge migration from Kosovari Albanians to North Macedonia, which was a predominantly Orthodox country. And nobody in my country likes me when I speak about this, but I only speak about the facts. When Albanians came into my country, they were an ethnic minority because in my country we still recognize your nationality and your ethnic minority, and that was
Mhm.
fine. And just as in everywhere in the world, they start occupying certain territories, they start moving en masse in those territories, they start building mosques in those territories, and basically they start practicing Islam only in those territories.
Mhm.
And that's also where I lived. So there was a very big incident a lot later on, I think in 2009, where Albanians called Orthodox people in our country on a fight. There was a song which was called Trgni se od Kale, which basically was calling out for, they said, oh, by the way, we don't have here churches, we have a mosque, get out of our places, this is our country, go back to Bulgaria. So
Wow.
basically, the problem with North Macedonia is that as an independent country, it has faced a lot of backlash from Greece, from Bulgaria, and also now even from Albania. And then Albanians who came to North Macedonia, they would tell Orthodox people, go back to Bulgaria. Now this is ours. We are in power. We have conquered your country. We have conquered your religion. And sometimes when people say, "Oh, but it's not all about," like sometimes when two ethnical minorities have tension, I always say sometimes the reason is because every single monotheistic religion wants to dominate the world
Mhm.
eventually. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of hate that has been placed into these people's heads that, oh, the other person is your enemy. So in Albanian, there was a word shkinja, and basically it's a very derogatory term for an Orthodox person. It's like a super offensive, racist, supremacist, nationalistic word. And also, the movement for the big Albania, which Albanians also in Macedonia started, was a far right nationalistic movement because their ideology was that they wanted to occupy, I think, Kosovo, Albania, Macedonia, to make the big Albania. So they really wanted to separate countries, to occupy, to split, to kill people. They were willing to do everything it took in order to achieve to their goal. And when all of this was happening, I was very critical, even from a very young age. And I said, so I remember once my mother had an Orthodox best friend for so many years. And then when these tensions were building up, um, one day, my mother entered the apartment of her best friend, catching her saying like, "Oh my God, these Albanians, they always cause problems." And my mother took it so wrong that she basically broke up a friendship of 15 years. And I was like, hang on a
Wow.
second. I was like, put your ego aside. Do you think she's wrong though? I was like, she's in her country. Like, of course, also in my country, but she's Orthodox. Albanians moved in 2001. In the beginning, they no, you could only study in elementary school in Albanian, I think, and in high school, but universities were in the beginning, I believe, in Macedonian. But this all has changed because it was a work in progress for so many years. So my mother went to elementary school, but because her grandfather was a very radical Muslim, he took her out of school, like to a lot of girls happening, and he says, "Nope, you will get married one day, and you will get out of this house." You know, like the typical classical Muslim mentality, etc.
Mhm.
Which also happened to me later on. At the same time, when I went to high school, it's important to mention that because I was born in an Orthodox family and then they associate Macedonian with Orthodox people, I went to high school in Macedonian. I did not go to high school in Albanian, but I lived in an Albanian family, in an Albanian environment, and that school had a separate part for Albanians.
Really?
Yes, of
Wow.
course,
Okay.
it was a bilingual environment. As
Uh-huh.
you can imagine, in that context that I just built up to you, there were, of course, fights every weekend between Albanians and Macedonians. And what I would do sometimes, because I thought that was the logical thing to do, because I wanted to bring peace between the two sides, I would approach Albanians in Albanian and I would say, like, what, why are you even attacking them? Like, what are you doing? Who are you to attack them? While
Mm.
having piercings, long hair, and being a metalhead. And they would be like, "Are you Albanian?" And I was like, "Of course. Like, why do you think that I'm not?" Well, then what are you doing with them? I'm like, "What do you mean with them? First of all, what's that language? I go here to school. These are my friends. Why are you studying in Macedonian?" I was like, "Why is that your concern? I speak both languages. I can study in whatever I want." And
Mm.
basically, Albanians in that school started to see me as a betrayer. It's like, "Oh, you have abandoned your brothers in faith, or you are no longer Muslim because of your piercings." And so I also started getting being bullied severely. And then also because I was a little bit effeminate, that's also when I started getting when I started being called faggot, and it was a mixture of all of these things. And I had a very difficult teenagehood in high school because of all of these tensions.
Mhm.
And so after started listening to metal and after being disgusted by what I saw, by all of these things, and then also at home with my mother and the uncle and my grandmother and everything, and then also something that I've never heard people talking on TV about Islam was that at least in Macedonia, during Ramadan, when you would turn on the TV, which were streaming ilahiya, dua, some religious songs. There were always videos about the end of the world, the earth opening up, people dying,
Hmm.
floods, blood, and then it was all connected to sins. So this is what happens to the earth when you cause sins. This is what happens to Muslims when they stray away from the paths of Allah. And I was just kind of being like, my mother would see that, she would start crying. They would be like, "Oh my God, Allah, please forgive me for my sins, etc., etc." And I would observe all of that, and I would be like, "What is this? It really seemed to me like, first of all, very very violent, brainwashy. But as somebody who started listening to metal, and metal is very critical of everything that's mainstream, including religions, I started seeing things from a very different perspective. And I
Did you
said,
have anyone in your life at the time that related to your critique or your thoughts about all of this stuff, or were you very much alone in that experience?
at school, I had a best friend. She was the only one that could understand me. But in the end, she also ended up becoming a radical Orthodox believer. She is
Mhm.
now apparently wandering around in the city, in her city, carrying iconostats, because in Orthodox they carry images. So she walks around with images of Jesus. So, but at the time she was still more, let's say, rational. She was still
Sure.
more, she had her faith. That was fine. I was different. I was entering into another direction, which I'm gonna get into later. So basically, after being so disgusted by the violence, by how people would spread ethnical separatism, hatred, homophobia, which I'm gonna get to that later, because I did not come out to my parents until I was 18. So at this time, people were doubting, but I still was saying no, 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 no. I like women, I'm straight, etc. because of the Muslim environment where I lived in. And so anyway, living there, going to the mosque, reading the Quran, being with my friends, with my family, it just, and then started outgrowing all of that. It was difficult, and I think my mother felt that, and then she decided for us to move into a more mixed part of the city where you can be Muslim, but also there's Orthodox people. But
Mhm.
even there, it was terrible. I facing the same issues that I just described because of the same reasons. And all of that tension translated to me because I have a very, I'm strongly opposed to authoritarianism as a person since always. So that pushed me more into the direction of saying, okay, you know what? I'm not only a non-believer, but I'm actually a Satanist. Now, for people who are gonna watch, just to explain something, because as an atheist, I don't recognize the existence of Allah or Jesus or God or Bible or Quran. So this is mostly used figuratively. I don't
Mhm.
think that there is a Satan ruling the world and I obey and pray. I don't do that. I don't partake in that shit.
Yeah.
But for me at the time, this was a way to push back on all the violence that I experienced because of Islam, because of religion, and it did help me to reclaim some sense of power and some sense of belonging. Because when you leave a religion and
Yeah.
some base that you were brought up to believe in, you need something else to hold on to. And Kili, yes, I will get to that. There's a lot to talk about, but I will get to that. In relating to the question, there is anti-Islamic black metal because black metal is the genre that is mostly opposed to religion. But at the time, I was not aware, so I would start listening to anti-Christian black metal, and even though I never really connected to it because I was an ex-Muslim, it did give me some sense of power listening to the words. opposing this, it didn't make me feel happy and good about myself because I was very nervous, upset, anxious, depressed. I was being beaten constantly, being judged because of who I was. I wasn't feeling liberated enough. And then metal was a space for me where I could just, go back to it and listen to the words and just simply look at these people with disgust.
And you
But
mentioned to me before that you really connected with anti-Islam black metal music that was coming out of, I think, the Middle East at the time, was it?
yes, but this was later on in life when when I moved out, I was independent. I had internet, and then there's a lot of anti-Islamic black metal music coming from the Middle East. I think Janaza is one example. Al Namrut is another example. We have Seeds of Iblis as well. I think also Kafar is another band that is an anti-Islamic black metal. Trivax is also another band. Actually, Trivax is an interesting band because also there is another band. Two of these singers also fled their countries from the Middle East because they were metalheads, because they
Just
wanted
so
to
bad.
produce music, and especially because their music was black metal and they were criticizing. Let's say, I think Trivax has a video. Um, Let me research the name of the video because people might be interested. But in the
We
beginning
need
of the
a
video,
playlist for
they're yeah, but in the beginning of that video, they are basically showing all the pictures and videos from the Iranian Islamic Republic from when they got in power. So the video is called "Against All Opposition," and it's a very good video because they show everything. They show everything. They criticize everything. But the singer lives now, I think, in Sweden, if I'm not wrong, where they can, be very free to criticize Islam because of their past, right? But all the bands that operate in the Middle East, they hide themselves. Like Janaza, nobody. So people assume that this is a one woman black metal music project. So not even a band. And nobody knows who she is. I forgot her name, but there was one interview, I think, with the lead singer where she had like a pseudonym and where they would talk to her about what would motivate her to write the music that she would write. She's from Baghdad, Iraq, and Janaza is Arabic for funeral, right?
Mhm.
That's what I'm reading here. And so basically, she said that she was hiding to record, and that if people would find her, they would kill her because obviously her music is very anti-Islamic. She has a song which say "Burn the Quran." I think there is an album which is called "Anti-Islamic Rituals," etc. But when I came across this part of black metal, I felt seen now
Yeah,
how
I bet.
liberals express themselves. It's like, wow, I finally felt validated and seen, because it
Mhm.
was finally kind of like, okay, now this is a metal that I can actually relate to. But I'm now jumping a bit between time frames. But in Belgium, for example, because I live now in Brussels, if you put on your Instagram story as a gay man, as a liberal white gay man, any of these songs, I've been called a racist, a white supremacist, a fascist, a nationalist, and and Islamophobe, and I
Oh
don't
yeah, love
subscribe,
that
and I
one.
don't, and I don't subscribe to the term Islamophobia. I don't
Mhm.
accept it. I think term Islam, like, it's weird if we cannot say, oh, you are a Christianophobe, oh, you are a Jewishophobe, oh, you are an Orthodoxophobe, a Catholicophobe. If it's weird to hear these words, then to me it's also weird to hear Islamophobia, because
Yeah.
I think white liberals defend Islam from a very point of view of like, we're gonna save you because you're oppressed and we are living in the dominant Catholic society, and you're Muslims. Oh, the poor Muslims that everybody's against. Oh, so we're gonna save you. So that's why all of you are Islamophobes. Islam is a good and kind religion. And it's like, hmm, honey, it's not. No,
They love to
because
lecture us about something they've never experienced and that we've actually, been part of for most of our lives, don't they?
yes, now I'm gonna go back to a little bit when we moved out from my grandparents' house with my family, and I started to show support towards the LGBT community in front of my mother, because
In
my
North
father,
Macedonia still?
yes,
Okay.
because my mother, I grew up until 15, 16 without my father because he was working in Italy, but so now to get back to Macedonia, at 16, 17, I started feeling the need to come out.
Mhm.
I was anyway out of religion for a while, into metal, Shaitanist, as we call it, having the time of my life, enjoying. And I said, I'm ready to come out. I don't see the reason why I should not come out. So I think when I turned 18, even though at the street when I would make out with boys, they would come to tell me my mom is kissing other boys, and I was like, no, that's not true. And she would beat me, she would beat me with shoes or bam, 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 bam. And so, Mirdita Halili, hello, I am here. That was in Albanian. Hello, how are you? So, basically, so one day I told first my sister, she was shocked. You are gonna laugh a lot on this part.
Cenk, you're freezing and cutting out a
The
little
day
bit.
after, my
Okay.
mother said to me, "Come, I'm gonna take you to a place." Sorry.
No,
So
no.
you are gonna laugh a lot on this part. My mother, the one day after coming, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're back. You're back.
Can you hear me?
Hmm.
Yeah. So one day after coming out to my mother, she took me to like a Muslima, a hijabi woman that does magic, even though in the Quran it's forbidden to do magic. But
Oh.
apparently, yes, but apparently in North Macedonia there is a community of women who help people by doing magic for things like curing homosexuality. So in
Oh, like
Western
gay
terms,
conversion therapy.
indeed, my mother took me to my conversion therapy session, where I'm gonna describe it. I've never done this before, but it was out of the world. I hadn't like so basically you enter an apartment. I had no idea what was going on. I was like, Mom, where are we going? What is this? She would just say, Shut up, you obey and you do what she's telling you. So you would see a woman and she would say, so is this the sick person? And I'm like, I'm not sick. And she's like,
Oh
shut up.
my God.
And my mother was like, yes, like the genes have entered his body, and he doesn't know what he's doing, so he needs help. And I was like, what genes are you talking about? So I had to sit on a chair, and then the woman covered me with something, with a cover. I don't know. And then she took hot water, and she threw I think aluminium inside the hot water, and then the aluminium, I don't know, metallic reaction. I'm not a chemist, and then some forms started to shape. Basically, it's like, and then she started to say, "Oh, I see." And
What the?
listen now, the family from my father's side did not like my mother, so they were Turkish because she was Albanian. And so the woman said, what is your relation with the other side of your family? Oh, it's not good. It's very bad. They don't like me. They hate me. And she said, yes, exactly what I see. They have cursed your child to become a homosexual. It's the other, yes, mole and lead. Yes, lead. People are, yeah. So I might not know all the words, but I have the experience that them people are helping me. Mole and lead. So then she would say, "Oh yeah, the other side of your family has cursed um, your son to become homosexual, but don't worry, I have the perfect ritual to cure him away, but he will have to do all the effort because in the end, if he doesn't want to change, it will not work out." But my mother still had to pay 300 euros. 300,
300 euros
yeah,
for that?
to pray the gay away. And so then she opened tarot cards. And as you know, I was already into metal. I was like, "Mom, these are just tarot cards. This is nothing divine with Allah. You can just buy and learn the pictures." And my mother would slap me. "Shh, you have no
Oh,
right to talk here." And I was like, WTF, because I don't want to demonetize you. I was like, why do you like? I was like, I'm telling you that this is all fake. She's basically manipulating you. She's using tricks as a witch or whatever to, well, first of all, I believe in witchcraft. I don't say that witches that practice witchcraft manipulate people, but these are the con artists who
mm,
steal the
scam.
craft away from other people just to make money out of it, a lot of
Mm,
money. So they are liars, they are cheaters, they are manipulators. And my mother did not want to hear anything coming out of my mouth. So that was her problem. So anyway, to cut long story short, basically she gave me a bottle of water that she claimed came from directly from Mecca and Medina, holy water. That I had to drink 3 sips in the morning, every morning, pray to Allah to cure myself, to become straight. And I had to watch straight porn magazines, and to basically self pleasure myself thinking of women, and that only on this way, if I were to do it every day, that I could actually become straight. And then, believe it or not, when we went home, my mother locked me in my room with these magazines, and she said, "I am not unlocking this door unless you basically, let's say, finish the job." And
yeah.
I was like, "You're my mother. You're quite literally entering my private sexual life, telling me what to do in my bed." I was like, "And you think this is normal? And you think this is okay? And you think you are morally better than me because I'm gay?" I was like, "This is why I left Islam." And then
Yeah.
she would come to beat me. We had a lot of fights about this, and I would say, "Yes, I'm a Shaitanist. I believe in Iblis, in the devil." It was all to push her back on this. And then my father came back to our country, and we were hiding the fact from my father that I was gay. My mother accepted him back in her life, all of these things. But my father was also very abusive. Uh, but that part that I talked about, the conversion therapy, is something that I've never shared, and it does happen to a lot of gay ex-Muslims. And this is something that people need to realize, that even though it might seem funny, but going through that with the person that claims to be your mother is not funny at all.
No, it's
Um,
traumatizing. It's extremely
yes,
traumatizing.
yes, maybe I did not have some shock therapy like some people have had the experience, but it's equally traumatizing. It's equally traumatizing to go through that. And that was for me the drop when I said, I need to leave this crazy house, this crazy place, these crazy people. And I said, these people are not my family. And I said to them, when I'm gonna leave, I'm not even gonna come back to your funeral. And that happened basically years later. So um, to cut things short, because we are approaching 34 minutes, um, I decided that after my high school, I had to leave. I had to escape, and nobody will convince me that I did not escape because of Islam. I escaped and fled because of the Muslim community, at least in my country, because of going through the conversion therapy, because of all of these problems, because of people attacking me, because of my mother thinking that I should be cured, because of people feeding into that, and but before I jump onto the moving out, I forgot to talk about the arranged marriage because
Yes, tell us about that.
so after I came out and my mother said no, well, my mother said I'm not gonna let you do the wrong thing. And I said, yes, I'm going to move out. I'm going to marry a man. I'm going to have children. Because at the time I still thought that you must have children in the world to be happy. And she said, no. She said, you are going to stay here. And she started hiding away my passport. I took a new one. And she said, and I'm talking to a mother about their daughter. And I want you to take her hand. That's how people, say it in the Islamic. So I had to go. I didn't do this. But in her head, I had to go to speak to her father about the hand of their daughter. And I was like, Mom, are you aware? Because I had to stop her at all costs. I did not want to end up being married to a woman. Never. I said, Mom, if you take me to the father of a woman, I'm going to tell them that I'm a cross-dresser, that I'm dressing up as a woman, and that their daughter are going to marry a cross-dresser so that they can be so disgusted that I will end up not being married. And she did not like that, so she was slapping. Why are you like this? What have I done wrong to be cursed? Blah blah blah. And then the family, and then what have I done wrong to raise you like this? Why did you end up being like this? You are a shame of the family. I don't want to see you. And basically, in my house after that, I started living like I started renting my room. So I could not go to university. So I had to stop my academic development. And I was paying half of my salary to my parents to just live there. And I could not even go to the toilet whenever I wanted to. There were certain time frames when I had to go to the toilet so that my father doesn't get upset or my mother because oh my God, they have a faggot in their house and they have to tolerate him. And I was like, I'm not. I was like, are these people serious? I'm not gonna end up living in my house as a prisoner in my room that I pay money for, and I cannot open the fridge to eat. I was like, this is all wrong. I was like, this is
How old were
insane.
you? How old were you at that time?
18, 19, because I came to Belgium at my 20th. So I said, this is not a lifestyle of somebody who is 18, 19. I'm supposed to be occupied with academic studies and choices. I'm not supposed to go through all of these dumb things.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'm leaving. So I started finding a way on how to move out from my country. Long story short, I researched multiple options. And then I found out that you can apply for asylum based on your sexual orientation. But the person who told this to me said, but you will need to have a good story and proofs. I said, oh, trust me. I have everything I need because I would also go to the police to report my family. I've called multiple times the agency for domestic violence, but because in Macedonia that doesn't work, the police would just come home and they would say to my father, if I was like you and my son would call the police, I would beat him up even more. How dare he call the police on their own parents? And I was like, you're not supposed to say these things. I was like, I pay my taxes because I work. You're supposed to protect me because they are literally beating me physically.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to protect me, but no, it didn't work that way. So then, 20 years old, one day I just had a small backpack. I said to my parents, okay, I'm just gonna go out to have some fresh air. I went to my friend's place. I slept at a friend's place. I had a ticket. The day after I woke up, took the flight, and I blocked everybody. On the phone, I threw away my mobile phone, blocked my family on Facebook, Instagram, wherever I could. I came to Belgium and I applied for asylum. The procedure. So do we have to stop at 1 hour or can we?
No,
Because
no, keep
it.
going. There's no
Okay.
time limit. You're good.
So I arrived in Belgium and I had only one friend from my country, and you know, cutting away contact with your family at 20 years old. Even though I was so angry at all of them and I hated them, I literally was saying like, I want them to die. I was just saying, like, they don't even deserve to be, sorry, to be alive.
Mm.
But this was all my anger coming out of the abuse in the past and the
Of
trauma.
course. Yeah, of course.
So I came to Belgium alone. I was basically super traumatized because of the attacks, because they would also, like people in my country, they would take away my piercings. I would go home with blood. My family would say, "You are the biggest shame of the family." They would attack me. So I had a lot of fear of people approaching me because I was always like, "Oh, they're gonna attack me." Oh, in my country, it was like everybody was attacking me all the time.
Mm.
And so I came to Belgium. I applied for asylum. My process lasted for 3 months because at the time Macedonia was considered as a safe country for LGBT people in Belgium. And because there were not a lot of asylum seekers, so they just wanted to see, okay, this is a rare case, so we are going to treat it faster. But nowadays, 10 years later, these procedures last like 2 years approximately, so it's a bit longer. And
3 years.
for and
Wow.
for and for people from the Middle East, because also mothers with families and children and everybody's coming, it can last up to 5, 6, 7 years. So I was lucky that my procedure was only 3 months with 4 interviews, and then at one, I don't know if you want to talk also about this. I don't know.
About the asylum seeking process?
Yes, I don't know in which direction should we go from here.
Look, it's up to you and how you want to tell this story, right? This is your story, so you own it and you do it the way that you want to. So you
Okay.
relocated to Belgium. How did you kind of pick your life up in this completely new, strange country from there?
So after going through the procedure successfully, even though everybody was telling me, "Oh, you come from a safe country, they will not keep you," I said, "No, I come from a lot of trauma. They have to protect me. I'm not going back."
Mm.
So there was no way that I was gonna go back. So then they gave me an approval, the month of my birthday in September, to stay, and I unblocked only my sister just to say. So remember, this is th- from June until September. They have not seen me. They have not heard about me. They have nothing. Just so I unblocked them, and I said, okay, just to say that I'm alive and I'm
Mm.
doing well. Just that, and this is my new ID card. I'm never coming back. I
Did you
said to
hear back
her,
from them?
sorry.
Did you hear back from them? Have you ever heard
So
from them?
basic, so basically, they faked the death of my mother when I escaped. Yes,
What?
I know it sounds like like an insane movie story, but this this is just what happened. But I knew them. I knew it was a manipulation because they said, "Oh, by the way, mom died and you left, so we're gonna, organize her funeral. So if you want to see her for a last time, you should come back." And I said, "Okay, you know, may peace be upon her, but I don't care." I said, if all of you, I don't care about you anymore. I said, "You all can die. I really don't care. Why are you so egocentric?" I was like, "I'm egocentric." I was like, "I saved myself at 20 years old."
Mm.
Um, Lauri, I moved in 2015. 2015 to June. So September I got approved. I said like I saved myself from all of you because
Mm.
you three apparently love yourself so much, and I'm the shame of the family. So I removed the shame. Now stay. Straight people without gay people, all Muslims, you do you, and I'll do me in Belgium. I'll be gay, I'll be as gay as I want to, I will sleep with men, and I will be a man, an ex-Muslim, anti-religion, I will be all of these things. And so then, luckily, refugees, because we are alone without family, we did not grow up here, we did not know the languages, they have a right to social service assistance, monetary wise, psychologically wise. And so I started recovering a little bit from my trauma, even though it was a very slow process to start trusting people again, feel safe around them, feel happy. I lived alone for the first time. I could not cook. It was difficult very much. And so I had to find all over again some meaning and the purpose in my life
Yeah.
because I lost my direction. and it's terrible not to know what to do with your life. You were just kind of like, okay, I don't speak the languages. I'm in a new place. I know nobody. I don't have any memories with all of these streets. And I started going out, drinking a lot, took some drugs that I was not very proud of, but I think it's a logical reaction to somebody who just feels kind of like I had no idea what I was gonna do. And then I started learning French, but I have difficulties with French. Even nowadays, I speak French, but it's a very difficult language. So I said, I'm not gonna be able to be successful in this new country with French, and I wanted to be successful because I don't know, I wanted to build up something on myself to prove myself. I think a lot of people coming from this background, it's like they want to show their parents, look at me now. I still
Yeah.
became something because you always taught me to believe that I was not gonna become anything as a
Mm.
gay person. So I started learning Dutch. And luckily, it clicked. This language, I learned it in 1 year and 7 months until C1. And I demanded my social assistant, I said, can I study? And she said, but you have been in Belgium for 3 years and you want to do a bachelor's degree in education. And I was like, yes, and I'm going to do it. And she said, but we have to pay you. And if you fail, you will have to then go to work. I said, okay, deal. You pay me for 1 year. If I fail my year, I go to work. I started studying to become a teacher in high school
Mhm.
of English and ethics because ethics in Belgium is a subject that is linked to atheism. So I wanted my degree to say a certified atheist, As an ex-Muslim, for me, it was kind of like, oh my God, I can do it here. I can
Yeah.
call myself a teacher of, atheism or at least secularism, at least secular values, at least, something non-dogmatic. So I started studying. It was difficult in the first year. I spent a lot of time behind the books, but I passed my first year.
That's
I was
amazing.
like,
How did that feel for
sorry,
you?
yeah. And after that 1 year, I was like, okay. I was like, I come from far, but things started making sense. I started getting some new drive. Oh, I'm gonna become a teacher. I'm gonna teach, educator, career. So kind of like, okay, I was kind of like, okay, now I started developing happiness. I was very proud of myself. People around me were very supportive. They were clapping, Cenk, we are so proud of you. Because I was always sharing my story on Facebook at the time. So people always knew everything. Are you here? Ah, yeah. Okay. There was a lag. Sorry. Yeah,
No,
I'm
no,
back
that's
now.
okay. I think you're
Can
back
you hear
now.
me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, long story short, I basically graduated in 3 years and 7 months. So I only took one extra semester. And then, yeah, I bought my first apartment. But in my second year, I'm gonna miss a very important part in my story about this live stream. In my second year, so when I lived with my parents, I told them when I'm gonna leave, even if you die, I will not even come to your funeral. But as a refugee, until you become a Belgian, you cannot go back to your country for at least 5 years in Belgium. And when I was in
Oh,
my second year, I think of studies, or third year because we had a presentation. I think third year, but I still had subjects from the second. My father died, and when he died, I think I wrote a note about this on Facebook that was public. I did not know how to feel. I hated my father. He was absent when I was growing up. I did not connect to him at all. And then he just came back and started beating me up again. Also, when he found out that I was gay, we were in the Center for Domestic Violence. And when they said, your son thinks you're beating him because he's gay, he was like, what? And then he started beating the wall, and I could not go back home for 2 days. And it was all this drama.
Mm.
So when he died, I said like, okay, life goes on. And then I wrote, I think, a note on Facebook about how I'm feeling angry at him because I'm supposed to be sad that my father passed away, but I feel indifferent. So I kind
Yeah.
of said in the note, like, I feel life has taken away from me the right of having a father, which I think is a very strong statement to say when your father dies.
Mhm.
Most of the people when somebody dies, they like to remember the good things, but I had nothing good to remember about. I just had somebody who was a father, authoritative figure, abuser, and then he died. So okay, for my father, I was confused, sad, lost, but I moved on. And 3 months later, my mother died, and I will explain to you why. My father was a narcissist, and by the way, I'm not like a professional, but I was just the scapegoat of the family, and
Yeah.
my mother was the enabler. So because my mother was the enabler to a highly abusive profile man, and she was, I think, addicted to his love. The
Mhm.
moment he died, she went into coma. She stayed in coma for 2 months, and she also died. The
Oh.
only way, sometimes in romanticism, people say people die out of heartbreak. But the way that I see it now, that I've worked a lot on my past, on my traumas, I've read books, I've uncovered like my past. I think because she was so addicted to her abuser that she could not imagine to live her life without her abuser, that
Yeah.
she just basically gave up on life and she also died. Now, when my mother died, even though she was also as an enabler abusive towards me and she was the one to do the conversion therapy, I was very heartbroken. And I will
Mhm.
explain to you why. I wanted, so I was almost about to graduate and I wanted to buy an apartment to be able to prove her, your son made it. This is why I was working so hard the entire time. And she died before all of that happened. And I was like, this is insane. It was kind of like 4 years after I moved out. And I was like, my mother was 59. And even though she was abusive, she still I still grew up with her and I loved her.
Yeah, of course.
So when she died, I was very upset. I was very sad. I cried a lot. I was mourning a lot on her, and I could not go back to my country to attend her funeral. So I talked a lot with my sister at the time. I said, look, we have to put our familial personal issues aside. I'm sorry,
No, no,
and we
don't
have
be.
to and we have to I have to call you because we are both mourning, so we have to be here for each other. Anyway,
Yeah.
so she died. My sister buried both of them. And I said, look, even though I have done nothing to prove to anybody left, I'm still gonna do the rest of my journey. So I graduated. I bought my apartment because my parents never had an apartment of their own. So for me, it was so important to buy an apartment. I had a lot of times when I was so lost without a family. So everybody, for holidays, like I was living in a student dorm, and then if everybody for holidays would go back to their family and celebrate, and I would just be there watching Vikings with a pizza and being kind of like alone. But luckily, I had a friend from Macedonia who had a family in Belgium, and they took me under their wings as a family member. And I'm very grateful for that because over the years I've gone to their celebrations. I celebrated New Year's with them. We have a WhatsApp group, and then I basically kind of like was unofficially adopted by a new family. But it was hard. It was, as you can see, it's on my facial reaction. It was a very rough emotional journey because I had to focus on my studies, on my fifth language, and then at the same time lost father, lost mother, all of these crazy things going on, and and then at the same time I started working with asylum seekers because I had no other option. I said I wanted to help other people escaping their countries and their stories. and I want to help them to work on their traumas. Probably because I know how it felt, so I wanted to protect others. So we opened up an NGO which is called Rainbow Refugee Committee with one of my longtime friends in Belgium for 10 years. And in the beginning, I only started going to conferences to share my story, but over the time, I'm very happy that now we are actually doing group coaching and one-on-one coaching on people on how to navigate the asylum procedure. We work a lot with their traumas. Like I had a lesbian from the Tigray community in Eritrea or Ethiopia. I don't remember. I don't remember. I think probably somebody in the chat knows this better than me. But she basically was so deep into this fear of being a lesbian that she said to us, look, I like women, but I'm not a lesbian because that's not okay. That's insane. So she said, I don't even want to say the word, but I just know that I feel happy when I'm with a woman, but I
Mm-hmm.
know it's wrong. And so I took her and I coached her and I started saying being a lesbian is good. You know, being attracted to women is amazing. You are beautiful. You are valid. Your past has abused you. I basically all the things that I've learned, I told to her, and she was very grateful because if you so during her interview, she had to have the courage to talk about her being lesbian without any shame, because a lot of people coming from our communities, we have shame tied to our sexuality,
Yeah.
and I managed to open up her shame, and then she got positive. So now she's also in Belgium. But I also have a lot of cases where I help to African ex-Muslims. Um, I know a case of a guy who had a father imam actually, and he was married. He had two children. So basically, a gay man has been forcibly raped by his family to have a woman to have children, and he escaped and left two girls to come to Belgium to live his life as a gay man. And this is what sometimes, and now to get to the Western illogical LGBT support of Islam. This is so. So when I would see all of this, and then I would go back to the LGBT Belgian Western community, to the left liberal or woke or whatever you want to call, I would see a totally different story. They would accept the hijab, they would accept Islam, they would accept Muslims, they would praise Muslims, but still in the past it was moderate. So I was like, I don't care. But lately, it's become insane. I've seen a non-binary TikToker reading the Quran, saying that Allah was non-binary, and I was like, my Allah was everything but non-binary. My Allah was my conversion therapy, that I went through. So I don't know what Allah is. She Why, like, basically these people are whitewashing Allah and they're claiming to be against white supremacy.
Mm.
So long story short, I need to talk about another important event that also changed a lot my life. I basically left the gay community socially in Belgium because I would protect and work on the traumas of these ex-Muslims from the MENA region. I have a friend of mine who is from Morocco, and he changed his name. He changed his name into a very Western European name. He is ashamed of of his roots, just like me, and he criticizes a lot Morocco. I don't want to do it now on your YouTube, but I think people who know Morocco and know the king and their son would probably assume what I'm talking about. Anyway, I don't want to get into the details. I'm talking about my story. But so we never organized like any movement of ex-Muslims because we never believed that we had to take a political position. But after the Queers for Palestine movement started, that's when I had a huge depression. First of all, I was depressed because it was crazy waking up on social media to see white liberals wearing, kufars, or I don't know how. No, no, not kufars, but how is it? Kafia,
Well,
wearing,
okay.
wearing,
Yeah.
wearing kafias, and then on TikTok reading the Quran, and then people in hijab transitioning and converting to Islam, and I was like, oh, wait. I was like, is this real life, or am I just dreaming? It really, in the beginning, it really felt like this is not possible. It was very possible. And so I wrote a status on Facebook that I think I can find. Well, I don't need to find it, but the status I basically said, I said the movement Queers for Palestine is a very big slap in the face to all LGBT ex-Muslim asylum seekers that fled their countries because of Islam. I said we basically are being told in our new countries by white liberals that the reason why we escaped is not valid,
Yeah, yeah.
that our oppression is not real. They're
I think
erasing, yes,
a lot of these liberal, I guess if you want to call them woke activists, they only care about people's lived experience when it suits their narrative. If it doesn't suit their narrative, then they write you off as Islamophobic or racist or all these sorts of things. It's just ridiculous.
yes, but I lost actually a friend of mine who is of Algerian descendings, which I think this was so hypocritical. In Algeria, a gay man can go to prison up to 2 or 3 years, I think, and so he is very active in the gay community in Brussels because he's safe to be active as an Algerian. He even has something Arabic tattooed. So, but I understand him. So I think a lot of people don't realize the different dynamics of. Okay, I'm not saying that racism in the Western world doesn't exist, and I'm not saying that, let's say, Moroccans are not being treated differently from Westerners who are far right and they hate Islam. But what I don't like is that these people do not differentiate between what ex-Muslims are speaking against and between these people. So
Yeah.
basically, I had a conflict with him where he said, where he and his friends, they said, "Oh, you are spreading French far right white supremacist narrative, like, I don't know, Zemel, no, Zemel is an offensive word, but basically that I was spreading the narrative of one French political who is far right, and I was like, dude, I'm talking about my country. I'm talking about how Albanians took over my country. I'm talking about Islam. This is my experience. Who are you to come and tell me that my words and my experience are a French nationalistic far right propaganda? Are you serious? And then basically people they canceled me at the beginning, so I was being canceled. I was being shared on social media. People started living my life. It felt in the beginning very aggressive, almost as if my traumas from the first rejection in my country came back. But this time it was the LGBT community towards an ex-Muslim, and I was like, wow. I was like, in 10 years, 9 years of my life, when I rejected Islam because I was LGBT. Now LGBT people embrace Islam, so I have to leave them because of the same reason. And I was like, are you? I was like, is this serious? But long story short, I accepted my faith and I said to everybody, I said, look, I've been through this once. I'm gonna go through this again. You will not shut my mouth. I'm gonna start speaking up. And ever since, I've been sharing a lot more anti-Islamic content, a lot more reality content, and also a lot more very grounded LGBT content, because I don't agree with a lot of things that people are doing in the community. And also because, as somebody who works with asylum seekers, I work with people that are in the beginning of their journey. I do believe that all of these new terminology is a very Western-centered academics ideology, because people coming from Africa or the Middle East, they don't know, maybe because of TikTok, but normally before the internet, we were just trying to accept that we were just gay and lesbian. And
Mm.
nowadays you can be a lot. I'm not gonna get into that, but like a lot of the people that I work with are just gay and lesbians. I work with also trans women that want to transition, But nowadays, you can be trans without even taking hormones. So my community of asylum seekers is not like that. We are gay, lesbian, transgender people, bisexuals, even though when it comes to bisexuality, because there is a fear that Belgium will send them back to marry them to a woman so that they can cheat on a woman with a man. I always suggest them, look, I'm happy that you're bi, but present as a gay or a lesbian for you to get the documents. But
Mm.
basically, we have been doing this now for 2 years. Every first and third Wednesday of the month, we have had people up to we've worked with, I think, 141 person so far.
Wow,
Um,
that's a lot.
yes, yes. Some of them are straight. We have been hijacked by straight people who want to pretend that they are LGBT to get papers. So they
Sure.
hear the stories and they reappropriate and they lie. Sometimes some LGBT people are not being believed enough and they get also rejected. But this is something that I'm very passionate about, that we are working on very hardcore. And this year we went to our first Pride together, and I was so proud. I was so proud because I was leading a group of people whose Pride was their first Pride, and I was with my Moroccan friend who is also an ex-Muslim and very critical to Islam, another guy as well. And he just felt like, okay, finally, I think I have found my people. After I left the crazy liberals who are now on a total opposition side of me, I found solace in the refugee asylum seeking communities where if you say that you're an ex-Muslim, everybody knows why. Sometimes, I'm not saying no, sometimes there was a girl from Morocco that said, no, I'm still a believer because I don't think my God hates me because of who I am. But she
Mm.
understands why other people don't think like her, and she is not very aggressive about it. And I said, look, that's your right, and I accept you. But to a lot of us, we have had the worst experience with Islam, so we push it as far away from us because we don't want that. And now seeing people bring back Islam in Europe does cause me a lot of anxiety, but not for the reasons that like white supremacists are saying, but for the reasons that I don't want to go again through what I went through 10 years ago. So that's why I'm pushing back because I'm hoping to say, like, people, you can believe in whatever, but we must live in a secular society. Secularism is the only way. And I spoke to this on a meeting to another activist who I could not believe. He said, secularism is a result of colonialism. And he said,
Oh my
so
God.
basically, he said, why do you think that the only appropriate way to behave is the Western way? And I said, are you serious about asking me this question? I said, can you hear yourself what you're asking? He said, no, but why do you think that not being homophobic and not attacking people is the only righteous way? And I was like, wait, you're gay. You're talking to an ex-Muslim who has been, wait, am I lagging?
No, 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 you're good.
I said, you're gay. You're talking to another gay ex-Muslim that left his country for Islam. In Belgium, I've been attacked by a lot of Muslims in my teaching career in my previous schools once they found out that I was an ex-Muslim gay. So that was also another trauma in Belgium. And I say, so you're telling me, why do I think it is appropriate not to kill people, not to beat them up, not to attack them? I said, are you hearing yourself? I think some of these people, they are virtue signaling so much
Mm.
that they would go as far as saying it is their culture. In their culture, if they want to kill LGBT people, let them kill them. It's like, I thought you were fighting oppression.
Yeah,
I thought you
yeah,
were
yeah.
fighting
Human rights
equality.
for
I
the
thought you
West,
wanted.
not anyone
I
else.
thought seriously, and I'm like, people. I want to liberate Middle East. I want them to become secular. I want Islam to fall down, like in Europe. Catholicism has lost its power. I am fighting for their freedom, not you, who think that it's cool to protect very oppressive regimes and systems. So yes, everything went crazy. Everything went in a direction where nobody was expecting, and now I lost a lot of friends. Some people still they tell me that they like what I share on Instagram. Others don't, but this is now my new direction.
That's incredible. Someone has a question. They said, if someone wants to leave their country and leave their Muslim community, are you able to help those people also, or would they have to go to like a different organization for that?
Yes, so we are so when people come from the Middle East or Africa, they need a visa to enter Europe to be able to seek asylum. This is a different process in every country. Some countries don't give visas because of these reasons, like in Morocco. I think only recently Moroccans are able to apply for asylum in Belgium because Belgium had an agreement with Morocco not to allow Moroccans to seek asylum. But now it has changed because my friend Moroccan, we had to basically fake that he was coming on an internship somewhere where he had to be in order to be able to smuggle him in and finally let him apply asylum. And now he's in a safe place. But to come back to the question, we cannot issue visas. We don't have that power. We don't have that authority. We are just activists. So we always tell people if you come to Belgium, if you find a way, some people take the boat, some people take the bus, some people travel for days. I've heard so many very traumatizing stories of people traveling across just to be able to come to Belgium. Once you come to Belgium, then we take you under our wing and we help you. We guide you, we tell you where to go, what to do, everything, but we cannot do anything before that.
Mm-hmm. Got you. Got you. I want to say a few things. First thing, I just want to thank you so much, Malaka, for your super chat. Sorry, I've been meaning to do that for a while. I just want to also acknowledge as well, like Djenk has shared so much about his personal background today. And I think you mentioned this is the first time that you've spoken about a lot of this stuff. So I just
Yes.
want to take my hat off to you and acknowledge how brave and how courageous it was for you to come here today to share these really, really difficult parts of your life with a bunch of strangers, with a strange girl on the internet, you know. And I know that by you sharing your story with the world, this is going to connect with so many people who have been in very, very similar situations to you. And it's just such a powerful thing to come forward and share your truth in the way that you did. So I have to thank you and just acknowledge that bravery, really.
Well, thank you also for allowing me the space to share it on a larger scale because I don't have that much outreach, but I'm also not like an influencer. But I like speaking about reality and truths that people don't like to hear. And I think that's as a metalhead, that's what metal does. Metal wants to confront you with the truth because a lot of these virtue signalers from the West, they just ignore the truth because they're like, oh no, I actually don't want to hear how bad actually it is. I just want to fabricate lies and believe my own lies and live in my bubble. And people who are, out of that bubble, I don't want them anymore. So, long story short, that guy blocked me. The Algerian guy, a friend for years, he blocked me because he said, now you have become a racist. I don't want anything to do with you. You're Belgian, move. And I was like, wow. I was
Oh
like,
my
wow.
God.
Even he said, when I go back to my family, I respect them by lying that I'm a Muslim. And I'm like, I don't want to live that life anymore. I don't
Yeah.
want to have to force. I don't want to have to force myself to be something that I'm not. So I'm not doing it. So that's your choice, but I have another choice.
Mm, mm. What advice would you give to people who are still stuck in like a similar situation that you were in when you were growing up?
Find any way to leave. Do not compromise. Do not lie to yourself that you are gonna find happiness in your country or in your community or whatever. Do not accept any arranged marriage. Leave, 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 leave. It is very difficult. You might feel hopeless, but find a way to leave. There are ways from everywhere. Find somebody from your country, ask them how they left, leave. And do not be afraid. Come to Europe and then work on yourself. And life does get better. Really, it
Yes,
does.
absolutely, absolutely. And Zhenk, is there anything that we haven't really spoken about today that you think would be important for the viewers to know?
maybe I didn't speak a lot about this, but towards people who are watching this who might subscribe to the extreme far right left ideology, well, far right left, wait, to the far left ideology. So recently, I basically came out as a centrist, and I think a lot of people in my situation would come out as a centrist. And I would say to these people, do not ignore ex-Muslims or asylum seekers or refugees when they speak out, because I've been pushed aside, pushed over, ignored, tried to be censored. Do not ignore us, because basically by doing that, even though you endorse racism or white supremacy, basically they are imposing a new authority on us. They're telling us how to think, they're telling us what to say, they're telling us how to behave. And I'm sorry, but as somebody who has been through what I've been through, I'm not going to now suddenly, because it's from the LGBT community, I'm not gonna, surrender and say, okay, you are right. I'm gonna behave like this. No, I'm punk. I'm metal. I don't accept authority. I'm gonna say what I want. This is my life. If you don't like it, leave. This is my story. This is my truth. This is my job. You are not gonna tell me how to behave. You do you, but I have any right to criticize you for being brainwashed into Islam by people who don't have your interest at hand. Because in my last school where I worked because I left education, I had a young, cute Belgian teenager who basically converted to Islam, who read the Quran every day during every class in school. And I was just kind of like, why are people doing this? And that child said to me, oh, by the way, I still respect you as a teacher, but it's haram to be gay. And I was like,
Fuck
cool.
off.
Yet another brainwashed person into Islam who believes that it's haram to be homosexual. I was like, look, just don't attack me. I'm fine with you. Just. What is the Achilles heel of Islam? What's your best advice for life post Islam? Achilles heel in what way? Do you
What do
mean
you think? What do you think is the main weak point of Islam?
oh, the hypocrisy and how much it contradicts itself. And yeah, a lot of people do a lot of cultural bad things that have nothing to do with Islam, but mostly the hypocrisy, mostly the oh, a lot. I mean, if you live under Islam, you cannot listen to metal, you cannot have piercings, you cannot have tattoos because it is haram, haram. No sex before marriage is haram. You have to get married, you have to do Hajj, you have to read the Quran. It's a prison. It's not a life. You have to pray 5 times a day, even at your job. You're stressed. You live a life where you feel like, oh my God, the earth is gonna open up if I do this because I'm a sinner and I'm gonna go and burn in hell. Like Islam is a prison. That's
It
how
is.
I would
That's a great
describe
way
it.
to put it. It is like a
Sorry.
prison. And what's your best advice for people once they've left Islam?
Take your time to unlearn a lot of the things that Islam has taught you, and do not be afraid. First thing that I did when I officially left Islam was I went and I ate pork. That was for me kind of like, ooh, I'm now eating pork.
Yeah,
I,
that's like
I
the deal breaker after you leave. That's the big point, right?
but trust me, a lot of people no longer practice Islam, but they still do not eat pork and they drink alcohol. And I'm like,
Me, that's me.
okay, I appreciate it, but I'm like, why? Is it because of ideas that were in our heads, or just a personal choice? If it's a personal choice, okay. But if it's just because you still somehow feel like, well, this is something that I should not do it because it will liberate you. That's what I did.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, it's like that lingering religious indoctrination, that idea that, this is dirty, this is disgusting. And every time I try and eat it, I'm like, what? But yeah,
Bacon
I
is
don't know.
amazing. Bacon is amazing. I love eating bacon. I love eating pork meat. And every time I do it, it's kind of like saying, you know, I left Islam all over again. So yeah, I've been eating pork for over, I think, 9 years now. Low and
Low
slow.
and slow pork belly.
Maybe before I leave the session, if somebody has any questions, like I don't know, and then I think we can round it up.
Yeah, sounds good. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Hang on, I'm just reading through. Okay, we'll give them a second to come up with some questions.
And yes, and I
Go
think that
on. No.
and I think there was a metalhead from Helsinki that sent us a comment. I want that person, if he's still watching, or she or they, to know that I love Curse Upon a Prayer. And Curse Upon a Prayer is another modern black metal band where their first three albums were anti-Islamic. Even though I don't think that they are ex-Muslims, but I don't subscribe to the idea of liberalism that you cannot talk bad about Islam if you're not ex-Muslim. Sorry, you can. The same way that I can talk bad about Orthodox. So,
Yep.
Christ Upon a Prayer had their first three albums very dedicated to anti-Islam, and they are an amazing band, and I love them so much. And I have a T-shirt of them. They're my favorite thing in the world. And now they're working on a new album that's gonna come out in July, I think. So this month, or maybe in August. No, this month. And it is anti-Orthodox Christianity. So just shout out to that person. You know, check out Christ Upon a Prayer. And by the way, yes, I know Dimo Borger and Cradle of Filth, Zagros. I know them. I grew up with them. I love them a lot. But I've moved on to different bands right now in my life.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, I don't see any other questions. I think we're probably going to wrap it up now. Guys, I have to say again, a massive thank you to Djenk for coming forward and for having the vulnerability to share these really, really traumatic, difficult parts of his life with us. So thank you so much for your courage, for your bravery, and for the way that I know so many people are going to be inspired from hearing your story and seeing you doing the things that I'm sure many are aspiring to do with their lives as well. So thank you, Djenk.
Thank you again for inviting me. Thank you for your listeners for their interest, and let's see what's gonna happen in the comment section. I'm actually curious about I always like reading the comment section on videos like this, and then but I think this is not something that you can just say, oh, he just lying. No, I actually came with all the receipts, etc. So
Someone asked, where can they reach you?
So on I guess on Instagram. Um, Wait, my Facebook is because I always change names because I want to stay private. My
Sure.
current Facebook is Desdemon Web double S double B. If they want to reach out through Facebook, if they want to reach out through Instagram, I am the Fetish Rebel, but the E from Fetish, the first E is number three, and then there is the number one at the end because I was a teacher, so I had to keep myself very private as a gay person.
Sure.
So the Fetish Rebel, Desdemon Web on Facebook, and you have my Instagram. If somebody reaches out to you, you can give them my Instagram,
Yeah, I'll put the link in the description
and
of the
then
video.
mostly on Instagram about these things, so they can
Awesome. Arabic translated memes. I love your work so much. So good to see you
I
here.
love them so much.
I
Keep
know,
up
they're
the good job.
great.
Oh my God. Arabic translated means whenever I want to laugh, I always check out their work. I love them. I love all of you guys. I love your work. I love the apostate prophet work. Even though there's another guy who is kind of like ex-Muslim, but like an apologist. I think Aladdin. I mean, I like what he says. I think he also talked with you, but I
Yeah.
still think he's really an apologist, and I'm kind of like, no, I'm too extreme. I like his work, but like I want more people who are kind of like, nah, this is bad, make fun, blah 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 blah. Because I lived in Belgium when the attack of Charlie Hebdo happened. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
So it was insane. And then we had also another attack in Brussels. So no, like sorry, we need to speak out about this.
Yeah, different styles for different people, but I'm so glad that I have you here. You are 100% my style, and you've been an incredible guest. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone that was watching. I hope you all have a good day or a good night wherever you are in the world. I love you all, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.